Hi there, welcome to this Positive Behaviour Support in Early Childhood training video developed as part of the Regional Community Childcare Development Fund. This video is Module 5, the final video in Phase 1, and is on teaching behaviour to all children to prevent problems occurring. It is, as I said, the final one in these Phase 1 modules, and probably one of the most important in terms of the fact that we can define behaviours, we can post them on walls, we can establish procedures and routines, but to make sure that children learn and follow these behaviours, we actually need to teach these behaviours ongoingly and effectively to all children to assist them. So a starting point. The first point here is that we actually cannot make children learn or behave. What we do know, however, though, is that through decades of research, educators can create environments that increase the likelihood children will learn and behave in socially acceptable ways. Those environments that increase the likelihood of social and academic success we know are guided by a core curriculum. In this case, the core curriculum are the behaviour expectations, routines and procedures defined in your centre. These are adapted to reflect the child's needs and most importantly implemented with consistency and fidelity by all adults in the centre. So if the expectation is walking inside, then every staff member actually encourages students and children to follow that walking inside procedure. Some basic principles. First, we know that behaviour that continues and persists over time does so because it's working for those children. Point number 2 is we have to assume that children can't do something rather than won't do something. That way we know if they can't do something, what we can do is provide support, encouragement and teach them to do that. A won't do, however, promotes that mindset of I will make you do this, I will force you to do this, rather than I can support you and teach you to do this. So going back to one of those basic underlying principles of positive behaviour support, if a child doesn't know how to read, we teach. If they don't know how to swim, we teach. If we don't know how to tie shoelaces, of course we teach. And if a child doesn't know how to write, we teach and we give them opportunities to practice and build fluency. However, if a child doesn't know how to behave, often we turn to punishment rather than teaching. So positive behaviour support, the whole focus is however we want them to behave, whatever social skills we want them to have, we actually need to teach and practice those skills with young people rather than punish them. I want you to have a think about some key social emotional skills that children need for success at school. So I want you to pause the video here and turn to the person next to you and see if you can just quickly jot down some key social emotional skills that children would need for success in schooling. So pause the video now. No doubt you had some points similar to this here. That children need the capacity to develop good relationships with peers and adults. What does that mean? It means I know how to use my manners, I know how to wait turns, I know how to share things and say please and thank you. They're able to concentrate and persist on challenging tasks, are able to communicate their emotions. Oh, I'm feeling really sad today, I might go and sit over here. Ability to listen to and follow instructions, and also really key and something that we were doing in phase 3 modules, the ability to solve social problems. So what do children do when they don't have each of these skills? They often exhibit challenging behaviours. So what we say is we need to teach them what to do instead. Focus on teaching them the expectations and routines in the centre so they can be successful, and teach them skills that they can use in place of challenging behaviours. And we will cover more of that in phase 3 in functional behaviour assessment and prevent, teach, reinforce. So, linking to the early years learning framework for Australia is the notion of intentional teaching. And in this case, intentional teaching really being deliberate and purposeful about how we ongoingly support children to learn social and behaviour skills in situations throughout the day. So, for example, little Johnny and Susie are having an argument down there over some equipment. So, in that instant, rather than coming in and solving the problem, the teacher or the educator could be saying, "Oh, I see, we have a problem here. What are some things that we could do to solve this problem? Remember, we learnt about some different things. You could take turns, you could share, you could find another toy. What's some ways we can look at doing that?" So, teaching in the actual moment there. Intentional teaching is really important because it acknowledges that learning occurs in social contexts, and therefore those contexts are the perfect place to teach in that moment. And also, those ongoing interaction conversations are vitally important for learning in the situation. So, with teaching behaviours in positive behaviour support, there's the direct teaching each day of skills, but also that educators finding that right moment to actually use as a place to teach as well. Intentional teaching can be done in many ways using strategies modelling and demonstrating, some open questioning, speculating, explaining, and engaging in shared thinking and problem solving as well. So, how do we teach a behaviour? So, the first thing is to introduce the expectation during a neutral time. So, when Johnny and Susie are tugging of war and arguing about the toy, is not a really great time to be teaching sharing behaviours. That teaching should have hopefully occurred beforehand so that then the educator has some language to fall back to talk with those students around it. So, a teaching behaviour lesson would look like introducing the skill, the rationale, why is it important, showing some examples and some non-examples modelled by the adult of the skill, providing children with repeated opportunities to practice those skills in the situation that it's going to occur. So, acknowledging and reinforcing children who demonstrate the expected behaviour and using those pre-corrections as often as you can, again, to build that consistent language and understanding of skills. So, when learning behaviours through teaching, there are 4 stages of learning. The first one is the most simple, the acquisition, learning a new skill or a concept, learning different ways to problem solve, or learning what it looks like to walk inside on concrete areas. The next one is the fluency, being able to use that skill without a prompt, without a reminder of an adult, so that I know when I pass something, I'm going to use my social skills and say please and thank you, and I don't have to be reminded about that. Maintenance, when I can continue to use the skill over time, and most importantly for young ones learning skills, the concept of generalisation, that I can apply that skill, I can show what it is to be safe in lots of different areas in my world. So the acquisition stage, the show and tell stage, is teaching it to the whole group or a small group if they need it. Identifying, as I said, explaining the skill, linking it to other ideas or concepts, demonstrating what that skill looks like, examples and non-examples. And when a student is learning a skill, they need lots and lots of encouragement. The other thing when children are learning new skills as well is they can be easily lost at this stage through criticism. So it's really important that you look out for them doing the skill and giving lots of positive feedback and encouragement when they're learning those new skills. Another thing to remember when learning and teaching behaviour is that Repetition truly does build fluency. So practice, practice, practice for children is the key to success. And a lovely quote here by Harry Wong, which is really important to remember. For a child to learn something new, it needs to repeat it on average 8 times. For a child to unlearn old behaviour and replace with a new behaviour, that new behaviour must be repeated on average 28 times. So think about uh, Johnny comes to school, and the expectation in the service is that you'll bring your bag and you'll hang it on the hook outside. That's something that's really familiar to Johnny. He learns that at home. So he's reminded, he's taught, and in a week or so, he's learnt that skill. He knows, oh, when I come to this place, I take my bag and I hang it on the hook outside the door. Susie, on the other hand, comes from a home that's a little bit more chaotic for whatever reason. They don't have routines like putting things away, they're left on the floor. So when she comes to the service and she's given those same lessons and that same amount of time to learn, her pattern is, oh, I've got to school, there are my friends, I really want to play. And so her bag is just left on the floor, open at the door, and not hung on the hook. So for Susie, she actually needs lots more times and opportunity to practice. So perhaps someone meeting her at the door, good morning, Susie, welcome today. Don't forget, here we are responsible. Take your bag and hang it on the wall so everything in it stays safe. And she's going to need more practice to actually build fluency with that skill. So when children are learning new skills, we want lots and lots of opportunities to build fluency through different ways of teaching and learning, through role play, through prompting them and putting that, linking it to other ideas as well. Make the generalization is when we give them lots of opportunities to use the skill in new situations or with new people so that eventually they are actually very fluent and generalize. Say, for example, using pleases and thank yous. When I go to the shop and something gives me, I know that I say thank you. When I ask for a toy in the playground, if I use please and thank you as well. So again, what we want as adults is to give lots of encouragement and use positive, specific feedback to comment and give them that feedback to let them know that what they're doing is great work. So here are some lovely examples of centres who've used different activities and display boards to help children with generalisation. So being responsible is a big concept to learn when you're a little one. But if you've given lots of opportunities and lots of examples, I know that being responsible looks like putting your placemat away, looking after your socks by putting them inside your shoes, keeping puzzles on the table, pushing in your chair, holding your scissors in closed hand when you're walking, and so on. And the same with being safe. So I know that being safe looks different in lots of different ways. So here is an example of a lesson on being safe and what that looks like. And remember we talked before about tell, show, practice, reinforce. Well, this is what a lesson would look like. Now a lesson doesn't have to be long. It can be 5 minutes long as long as it follows this process here. So the first, well, today we're going to be learning about being safe and using walking feet inside. That's a way that we can make sure that nobody gets hurt inside, because if we're running, we might bash into people or bash into furniture. So can you tell me other places where we might need to use our walking feet? And hopefully the children are going to give examples like, well, when we're inside, when we're on the bus, when we're at the shopping centre, when we're in the library. So lots of different places that, oh, we need to be safe using walking feet. The next part of the lesson is adults showing the children what do walking feet look like. Are these walking feet? Give me a thumbs up, give me a thumbs down. Oh, do you think someone can come up and show me walking feet? Oh, Johnny, you can see, you know what being safe looks like inside. You're using super walking feet inside. So throughout the day, then lots of opportunities to practice having children walk and verbalizing that with them so they know they're practicing. And again, lots of specific feedback from adults. Wow, superstar job. You are using your working feet. Thank you for being safe and thank you for caring about everyone else and making sure they're safe. Um, and then using those pre-corrects in every situation just so that you're ensuring you're preventing behaviours rather than reacting to them. So, oh, look, we're all going to go outside today. Let's use our walking feet and go and line up at the door. And just that pre-correction is enough to halt little Johnny who's like, yippee, it's playtime outside. I'm going to get up and run to the door because I'm so excited. That, oh, remember to be safe. Use your walking feet. He's like, oh, yes. And there again, we provide an environment for them to be successful. So if we take teaching behaviour and we look at it overlaid the PBS continuum, what we know is that we teach those behaviours to all children. 80% of children will then be successful. But we also know that some children, for whatever reason, are going to need some more individualised and intensive teaching. So I might take a small group and do some teaching around social emotional skills, how to share, how to take turns. Then I also know that there's going to be one or two students who need some really intensive individualised teaching to support them to be successful. But whatever phase of the continuum it is all around teaching and all around practice and building fluency and generalisation of those skills. So, teaching social behaviour skills, we teach the whole group the skills that we want. We teach during circle time, we teach during centres, we teach with small group activities, and we teach through partnering with families. Also, we know we're looking at, and those children who are not quite successful with those skills that we're learning, we actually want to target them and teach them individually, teach them in small groups, and also with a partnership with their families. So, thank you for listening to this training video on teaching behaviour. Now it's over to you. The handout for this has a lesson plan on it, a social skills teaching plan. So I'd like you to turn, when the video is finished, turn to the person next to you, discuss a behaviour skill that you would like the students to be more successful with, and then use the sample lesson plan to develop a lesson to teach this behaviour to the whole group. Thanks so much.